And I'm like, sweet, thanks. She's like, well, if you're like ever scared or need help, just, read some of this. Like, okay.
Mm.
And like the final days of my addiction are super blurry for me, and I don't, a lot of it I don't remember, but I remember my girlfriend at the time was at work and like, dude, I started to get bad. Like I thought there were people outside the house like gonna kill me and so I remember being in our bedroom and opening that Bible. Not even opening it, I just put my hands on it and I prayed. And I was like, God, help me because I cannot help myself. And like no one came busting down the door and like scooped me up and took me to safety. It wasn't like that, but God knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like I uh I got kicked out of her house and well right before that happened, one of the dudes that I used to work with at the same place she worked, like came and knocked on the door and he was just crying. He had tears in his eyes and him and I had been like kind of good friends, but I didn't really know him that well. And he's just like, dude, like, let me help you because I've been through the same thing. She's like, what? And, dude, there was like, I could, I could feel like the battle for my soul in that house at times, and I would just open the Bible and read it, man. And just some dark, dark, demonic stuff was happening.
Let me ask you something. This is what I'm thinking is I think God allowed, he kind of like pulled the veil back a little bit and let you feel the evil in order to scare you straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm gonna help him by just letting him feel what's really going on. Like if I let him feel that evil dark hand on him is gonna scare him into my arms, you know?
mm,
Yeah. Is that kind of how you feel it was, or yeah?
yeah, and just like the people, the demons who were oppressing me, dude, just did not let me go. Like, and so I got kicked out and like took an armful of stuff down the street to his house, and he was in AA and he had kids, and he put me up on the couch, and I remember, dude, like multiple times during the last few days of my like deep addiction, like wanting to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself so that I'd wake up because I thought I was dreaming. Dude, I
Mm.
was hallucinating so bad. Man, I don't even know if they were hallucinations or if I was legitimately seeing demons.
Yeah.
Dude, it just got off the chain. So was in contact with like crisis counseling, and my mom was there helping me out, and my stepdad Clint was helping me out. And I mean, like talking to me over the phone because my mom and Clint were living on my grandparents' property, working on building a house, like that on a lot that they'd bought. So it's not like I could have went to their house and gotten
Yeah.
sober because my grandparents were super weird, super strict, super conditional love. If you don't do this for us,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I don't even remember why my mom picked me up and took me to the hospital. And dude, like I'm 6 foot and I've never been a big guy, always been kind of on the skinnier side. especially like I weighed 135 pounds all through my 20s because I was doing drugs.
Yeah, yeah, skinny, huh? Yeah,
Little guy.
I'm about 6'3" or so, and I haven't weighed less than 180 pounds since I was like 15. But I'm like tall and lean and heavy bones and stuff. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, a big. I got
I
big.
but she took me to the hospital and I weighed 100 pounds.
Wow, bro.
Dude, just absolute skin and bones, cheeks just sunk in, and
Yeah,
I don't remember much of that either, like being in the hospital, but I remember them pumping me full of like IV fluids and I mean I was still on meth at this time because it hadn't been too awful long. I'd had it built up so bad in my system, I was still all back then. My I think the doctor there said that we wanted to keep me close to the hospital just in case something happened or so, like because I was in like crisis, dude. I was telling people kill myself. They wanted to keep me close, so my mom and my dad. And from this point on, I'm gonna call Clint, my stepdad, dad,
yeah,
because I mean, dude,
yeah,
he is. Like,
yeah. Of course.
yeah. So my mom and my dad put me up in a hotel room, and I remember walking through Fred Meyer's, just like swimming in my clothes, and they were buying me food, buying me Gatorade, buying me sweets, buying me anything I wanted to try and eat to get
Yeah.
like some weight back on me. And dude, I was still in contact with this girl and she hated me, but I wanted to try and make it work. I loved her. And I started going to AA meetings with my sponsor. I stayed 3 nights in that hotel room and I don't remember much of it at all. And so I went back and started living with my sponsor, just taking one day at a time in AA. I stopped saying, dude, I used to cuss like a sailor. And I stopped saying, like taking the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
And that was like completely weird out of the blue for me, but I still cussed.
God was working on your heart little by little, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Some of us, he needs to take his time. I'm one of those guys. Some people, he just removes the naughtiness, and some people, it's a
Hmm.
process, bro. I'm still going through the process now. It's tough, but
Oh yeah, dude.
he knows what he's doing. I trust him.
It takes our entire lives sanctified, bro. Just
Yeah, yeah.
like I uh I got a job at the same place that my sponsor cooked at just at night.
Wait, let me ask you,
Uh,
your buddy that let you stay on his couch. Where was he at this point? Is that your sponsor or is that somebody else? Oh, so your
Yeah.
sponsor, your buddy that okay, okay. I thought he
Hmm.
was gone already, so he's sticking by you the whole time. Is he a believer too, or is he just yeah?
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You gotta ask him, man, did God motivate you to help me? I mean, did you guys have that conversation?
Yeah, I didn't really become a believer though until I was like out of his house.
Okay, okay. But he's being obedient, man. He loved you. He's like,
Hmm.
help my brother. I'm sure God motivated his heart for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Because he came to you crying, man. So he felt something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he went through the same thing. He lost his mind on meth too and got sober and started going to AA meetings and
So you say you started working with him, you said? You started
yeah,
working?
well,
Yep.
I- I'd worked I'd worked at that place before and the uh the owner of the company was the head
The head what?
he was the head guy at the AA.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I'd burned that bridge a ton, like called in multiple times because I was coming down on drugs. So I asked him one night after a meeting, I was like, hey, can I just have something to help me build my confidence back and get me back on my feet? And I'd earned my 1 month ship at that point.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, sure, you can start cleaning like 2 or 3 nights a week. And like I did that. I started like killing it at work and like doing a pretty good job being proud of what I did. And one of the other cooks and his girlfriend worked there, but they'd started going off the deep end with me and my ex. Like we were doing meth together.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can remember coming back from an AA meeting and dude, I was just like on another planet. Just self-confidence soaring, had my headphones in, just like head banging, cleaning the counters, like
Like a new
dude,
lease on life, huh?
yeah, new lease on life, started feeling good. And at that point, um, like I talked to my parents every day, and my dad was like, "Yo, you should like if you make it this, like if you are sober for a month, we'll buy you a pair of running shoes." I was like, "All right."
That's good.
So, dude, I started running, I started eating really well, like was buying my own food, living at my sponsor's house, and like, dude, just doing the little things that I'd taken for granted like in my 20s, like doing laundry, like doing my own laundry, man, that was a huge deal for me. And being able to buy things instead of just steal them, that was a pretty good feeling too.
Yeah.
And so I was running, dude, and lifting weights, and I put weight back on fast. And so like I don't know if my self-confidence or just whatever I was doing that night, it really got to that kid, that other cook, and he just threw his apron down, told our boss like, "Screw you, I'm done." And it was just like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do now because David already works this amount of time." And I was just like, "Dude, I'll cook."
Yeah.
Like, who better to teach me how to cook than my sponsor? And he's like, "All right." So, dude, I got more hours, like went from nights to days, started cooking, like handling big rushes, cooking breakfast, cooking lunch rush, like like doing really well, listening to motivational speakers and still playing video games every once in a while, but I became like a kind of a role model, kind of like a friend to my sponsor's son.
Mhm.
Uh, dude, just becoming like a contributing member of society, bro. Like I was finally proud of who I was, and my parents are big like outdoorsy people, so they bought me like a hiking backpack. We started like going fishing and going like shed hunting. Do you know what that is?
No, but I did see your hunting pictures recently. I was like, oh, look at him. What
Yeah.
is hunting? What is that? I don't know what that is. Shed hunting?
Well, like
Oh, like when they shed their
yeah,
antlers? Oh, okay.
yeah. I went from jacking stuff out of people's sheds to finding deer sheds.
Yeah.
Um, so dude, just being like my dad was just such a like there would be times that I would start missing my ex and
Mm,
he would just like and she was still like screwing with me trying because she was still doing meth. She had
yeah.
moved out but was living with her mom. And dude, she was just like tearing me down every step of the way. She stole a bunch of my stuff. Like it was a struggle to get her to return.
She was mad that you healed and moved on. And that demonic spirit was trying to bring you back down. Not
Yeah.
her, but the spirit that she had inside her was like, how dare he leave us? We gotta
Hmm.
back down. Yeah.
And I was going to AA, but I was still like I didn't drink anymore. I didn't do hard drugs, but I was still like occasionally smoking pot.
Uh-huh.
And my sponsor kept telling me, he's like, dude, you gotta like get off that green diet if you
The-
want to like experience experience all of this that it has to offer, like being
yeah.
sober. And my mom and my stepdad, my dad, were like, hey, you should try and get a job where Clint works. And it was like a local like wheat company. Like they handle I live in like Farmville, USA, and there's wheat fields everywhere. So they own all the grain elevators. They process all the farmers' wheat anyway. I
Mhm.
tried to get a job a couple of years ago from at this point with them, and I smoked weed all the way up until the night I was supposed to take my UA and failed the drug test. So I like left.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Dude, it was just a nightmare. And my mom was like, "Well, you got to pass the UA." It's like for the first time in my life, I can pass a UA. And I went and took that UA and did everything right, man. Like told my boss that I was putting in my 2 weeks because I got a better job. And dude, it was crazy. And my sponsor's wife cleaned the local church down the street from us. And just one morning, I was like, "What time does church start?" And she's like, 9 o'clock. Like, all right. So I just walked down there at 9 o'clock and just started going. And dude, I'm just a completely new person because there were people, like it's another small town, and people were like, "Hey, like I'm Karen, what's your name?" And I'm like, "I've met you before. You just like I just look different. I'm sober now."
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, like you don't look like a ghost anymore. It's like, and so I got this job. Still didn't have my driver's license, and like I was able to just walk to work like right down the road. And dude, my dad, like I was working with my dad and just pouring myself into my job, just giving it my all. Took my first paycheck, and like through my sobriety process, I'd started making payments to get my license back. I owed a crap ton of money in like interest, and made a payment plan and started making payments on that and paid it off enough that I could go and get my license. And dude, I was going to church on Sunday, still like hanging on to some like secret sins, like
Yeah.
little little stuff. Dude, like my dad's like, there's this girl that I work with that you got to meet. I was like, all right. And he's like super nice. And so I remember going to work that day and we had to load a barge and she was there. And dude, I just like fell in love, man. Like, and anytime that I'd ever talked to girls before, like hit on girls, it had been fine, dude. I was drunk usually or messed up on drugs. So
Yeah.
it was like if you turn me down, then I don't care because I'm already
Yeah.
like I'm feeling myself. And dude,
Yeah. Yeah.
there wasn't that this time. And so I was just such a nervous wreck, man. And like, I'd got my license back, mate, and bought a car. And dude, like I was just on cloud nine, man. Like started talking to this girl, and I remember we were working on a Sunday because they asked a bunch of volunteers to come in, and like she wasn't giving me the time of day before. And I mean, well, I hadn't really made it known, but I mean, I wasn't being real subtle about it.
You probably had
But
a
I,
goofy smile on your face when you looked at her.
dude, I did. I was just like, ah, like I couldn't, dude, I couldn't talk. And I mean, I was like, do you want to know the worst part about not about working today is? And I was talking to my buddy that like one of my work friends I'd made, but she was sitting in the same room, and he's like, what? And I'm like, I'm missing church. And I
Mm.
saw her head like snap up, dude. And it was like, what was
Mm.
that? Like, I asked her out, and then one night I just like shot her a text. I'm like, what church do you go to? And she's like Baptist. She sent me the address, and I was like, she's like, Sunday school starts at 8 and service starts at 9. And I thought like Sunday school was like little kid church. I didn't know that
Yeah,
there's such thing as
yeah.
like adult Sunday school, you know. So I showed up at 9, like in a collared shirt, like dressed up super nice, and her like the whole congregation comes up from down there because her dad teaches Sunday school. And I sit by her for the service, and I think it was on Romans, and she's like, well, my parents want to know if you want to come out for lunch after church. Like, sure. All right. Well, I go out there, and her dad's like, he's like, so are you going to heaven? I'm like,
That's a
like,
good question, man. I gotta ask that one when my daughter brings somebody to me. That's a good one.
yeah. And I was like, well, yeah, I think so. I'm a good person. And he's like, nope, it's not
Right?
works
Yeah.
based. You could be the best person ever and not go to heaven. And like, I'd never heard anything like this before. And I was just like, what? Like, how do you get to heaven then? And he's like, by having by having a believing faith and say like in Jesus Christ and what he did in the resurrection. What? Like, I thought you went to heaven if you're a good person. And dude, like, her and I started dating, and I asked her dad's permission if I could date his daughter, and I'd have to go get my Bible, but I think it was like the end of May in 2021 that her dad was finally like, "Hey, I need to talk to you after church," and I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "Do you want to become a Christian?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm down." And he guided me in a prayer, and I repented of my sins and asked God to come into my life and help me to be born again, man.
Yeah. That's, man, it's amazing. And not to be mean to women, but as men, like we talked earlier, how lust is a big,
Mm.
I think it's the number one problem. And because of that, the wrong woman could, if you have like a addiction, right? The wrong woman could exacerbate that and and lead you into more addiction and
Mm.
the wrong woman can destroy you, right? Just like Jezebel, right? But the right woman, like you met her, and look, she brought you to her father.
Yeah, dude.
That's amazing. Like one end of your story is filled with drugs and loose women and all this stuff. And now, the right woman came and just she led you to God. So it's true,
Dude,
man. I mean, I'm all about marriage. I think every man needs to be marriage minded. When you think about if you're a young guy listening to this, if you're 20, look, don't go chasing women, but definitely build yourself up to the type of man that can provide and take care of a woman and kids. I mean, that should be our goals. God made us and then he gave us women. We need to be married, but it's just dangerous out.
Hmm.
I mean, the lust takes over and we make stupid decisions. So it's just amazing to hear you had that Bible, you asked God to kind of save you from the situation, and little by little, and what really brought you to Christ's feet was this. What's her name? Your wife,
Shaney.
Shani. She brought you, man. She was the final stretch of the race where she brought you straight to her dad, and the dad, he had you do the prayer. That's amazing, bro. Your father-in-law now, right? He had
Hmm.
you do the prayer, you repented, and then keep going.
And dude, my life has never been the same. Like,
So how long ago was
the,
that? A couple years, 2 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago? How long?
yeah, I think it was 2021, May of 2021, because we call it my birthday, because
You're
that
right.
like, yeah, when my
Let,
spirit.
let me ask something then, because you're preaching now, right? You said you preached today for the first time.
Hmm.
How'd that come about? Because are you a big reader? Because I'm not that big of a reader, and I'm actually going to buy a course that helps you retain the information better and helps you read a lot quicker. Because I need to beef up my Bible game. I've read the Bible, but it just I'm a roughneck, right? So, but I mean, were you always a good reader?
Yeah,
Or is
I loved
that
reading,
from
dude.
young? Oh, okay,
That
so you
was
got
like,
a lot of talking.
yeah, that was my escape
Yeah.
when I was a kid.
So
Like, and I was,
how'd you, oh, hold on a second. Says oh, okay. Oh, I thought I stopped recording. No, we're still good. So how was the preaching, man?
dude, I'm like the biggest self-critic ever, but I mean, people said I did a good job, so
Okay, well, your story. I mean, I got so many questions, but I don't want to throw too much at you. I got my list of questions from, so anybody who's watching, this is the way I do things. I like to kind of get an idea of anybody's story who I'm going to talk to. So they'll either send me a quick, rough draft of their story, or they'll tell it to me. I'll look over it, I'll pray on it, and I'll ask them questions. I'll send them the questions before we do the interview. And then when the interview is done, they'll give me the answers for the questions. So I'm gonna ask you the questions. You don't remember your answers though, right?
I don't.
Okay, well I'm gonna you're screwed, man. I'm gonna ask you anyways.
Perfect.
Thursday, if you can read one day of your life as a child, what day? Oh, okay. That was the first question. So if you could go back in time, and if there's one moment in your childhood, teen years that you could jump in and kind of intervene and give yourself some advice, where would that moment be? And what would you say?
I'm gonna be kind of like, I wouldn't, man.
You wouldn't? Good
No,
answer. Well, good answer.
because
I like
every
that answer.
every every mistake, every poor decision I ever made has led me to where I'm at right now. And now, dude, like her, my wife, and my son that her and I have had together are
Uh-huh.
just the biggest blessing God could have ever given me, man. Like I don't deserve, man.
Yeah.
Like the bad stuff that I told you about, it's not even half of it. Like the stuff I did in my life, the people I've hurt, the people I've screwed over, the stuff I've stole, the just the crazy amount of debauchery, man. And just like the blessings that I've gotten in the last 4 years have been better than all 30 before it. And it's insane what God can do in people's lives, man.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. I agree,
absolute,
man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm if
Yeah.
someone popped up with a time machine and asked me to go back, I I wouldn't go back very far because I would probably want to relive like my wedding with her or something. like the happiest day
Yeah,
of my life.
that's a
It'd
good
be so,
answer, bro. I like that.
yeah.
That's that's good. I love it. It's such a good answer because whoever's going through something right now that can relate to your story, they may hate it. They may wish it wasn't happening to them, but if they're able to trust God and give it to God, He'll turn that into a
Yeah.
victory. And you can never have tremendous victories without tremendous defeats. You can't. The best stories are the ones where the underdog overcomes
Hmm.
all the adversity, man. So nobody cares about the strongest, handsomest, tallest, fastest guy winning the race because we knew he was going to win it. It's the guy that nobody believed in, the guy who came with the crippled leg that won the race. That's the one. So
Hmm.
love that answer, bro. Now, okay, second question. Do you know if that like addiction is that something that runs in your family, or do you think it is? Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, because my mom struggled with like Adderall addiction and
Yeah,
got in
yeah,
some tight places in her life with some addiction, and uh,
yeah,
my uncles were both like addicted to drugs, and
yeah.
my grandpa never admitted it, but he was a big alcoholic, and
Huh. Yeah.
like that's far back as I know. And I recently got in touch with my bio dad,
Uh-huh.
and he's like hooked on, as far as I know, he just drinks a lot of alcohol. So I mean,
Yeah.
addiction in my family,
You know,
that.
I go back and forth with that question myself because like my brother, he drank and he popped pills and stuff and it ended up killing him. But my dad was never addicted to anything. My mom was never addicted to anything. I wrestled with addiction. I overcame it. I do have an addictive personality. I love caffeine and stuff. But just learning all the things I've learned, like I really delved into a lot of nutrition and genetics and how that works and how, for example, if you get a couple of parents and you give them a bunch of junk food, it literally mutates their genetics and they pass those mutations on to their kids, right? So I know there's a genetic aspect of it, but I know there's a demonic generational aspect of it too. So I wonder how those things, I just find it interesting when I meet people and get their history. It's like you could usually see like a thread that goes back really far. I see it in my grandfather, my dad's dad. He was a devil worshiper. He was a straight Satan worshiper over in Central America. I mean, he was a witch doctor. He had people coming to his house and giving him offers, and he'd do whatever he did.
Hmm.
And my brother, the one that's still alive, I'm the youngest of three. My brother who's still alive, a lot of things he's going through, I know it's generational curses, right? And I know I broke some generational curses. So it's just something for people to think about. You know, I know God can destroy all these strongholds. So if, like I said, the reason I wanted these videos is because your story can help other people. My story can help people. So if there's somebody out there with addiction or whatever they're going through, give it to God. He can break it. I should have been dead a lot of times too. I should have been way more addicted to things than I ever was. I got addicted for a little while. And then when I had enough, I was able to get over it, and God kept me alive through a lot of things. So I think more than anything, it's I think it's spiritual, like generational.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's
Yeah.
genetic, but some of it's definitely spiritual. Yeah. So it's something that's super interesting. Eventually I want to delve into that subject more and do some kind of videos talking about it. But let me ask you the next one. If you could raise yourself a child, what would you have been some strategies to bring yourself? Okay, yeah. This is a good one for the dads out there. So I'm gonna put you in the shoes as if you were your own father and you had yourself as a son. What would have been some strategies, or what do you think you could have done to help bring this troublesome boy closer to the faith sooner?
Just, man,
You know what I mean?
yeah, just, I mean, for one, like I would have taken the time to, I mean, my sister's dad was the role model I had like growing up, and then my grandpa, but they weren't biblical men,
Yeah,
and you gotta, like, kids are sponges, man.
yeah,
You gotta do the dang thing.
yeah,
And I know like a lot of pastors' kids, like kind of fall away. And I think I'm a firm believer in like everyone's got to kind of have a falling away moment in their lives,
I agree.
but I would have I would have just spent time with myself, man.
Yeah.
Like telling, because no matter what, like no matter like when you're alone as a kid and you're going through tough times, whether that's depression, anxiety, you need to reinforce that no matter like if you're getting picked on at school, you need to reinforce that God is always your friend and God is always will be there and God will always listen to you and he never breaks his promise.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
I would have taken myself to church. I would have been a biblical man.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how you say the pastors, you and pastor's sons fall away. So one of my baby cousins, he's how old is he now? He's in his early 30s. I love that kid. That he my uncle, he passed. He was a pastor. He actually, if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have been as I would have avoided so much destruction. I lived with my uncle and my cousins when I was about 14, and he took me to church. He was a pastor, so obviously because of that, you know, I kind of understood who God was more than I did before. But anyway, so my uncle has what is it, four sons and a daughter. The oldest is he's doing all right. It's his second to youngest son, Danny. He got real bad for a while. He was doing drugs, meth, you know, a bunch of promiscuity, all that kind of stuff. I lost track of him for a while because they're from Los Angeles, and you know, me being in Hawaii most of my life. But when my brother passed, he came, and you know, I haven't seen him for years, and he had a circle. You know, he's basically a youth pastor now, and he's a warrior for God, man. He's there baptizing people, speaks in tongues. And that day when we had the viewing at my mom's place, that's when this is 4 years ago. I gave my life to Christ. I had already done it, but I had fallen away too, right? And with him, we prayed together, just like your father-in-law did. My cousin did that for me, and I interviewed him on on this channel. If you look at one of my first videos, it's him, right? He fell away, and he talks about it. And he even said on that video, if it wasn't for his dad and his mom building that foundation, he would have had nothing else to fall back on. What would he have fallen on? When he hit rock bottom, he knew he had to look for help, and he came to God. So I agree, man. Like with my sons, um, you know, we've had a hard time finding a church here in San Antonio, but we took him to a good Bible study. We were in Hawaii. You know, we watch our sermons online, and we talk to him about God, and we everything we do is God centric, and I live it, and I don't just talk the talk. You know what I mean? So I've caught them praying. I'll go peek in the room, and they're in there praying. I'm like, it's a relief because you don't know if you're doing enough, right? And you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be overwhelming. You don't want to. So just that's just for anybody out there that has young kids, and you got to walk the walk, man. You gotta live
Yeah.
and breathe it. Your actions, you know, the fruits, right? It's got to show it, and your kids will pick up on it. Another good example, my oldest son, he's 22. And when they were real small, they used to run mom ragged. Mom, do this, mom, do that, mom, tie my shoes, mom, wipe my nose, this type of crap. And I used to tell them, hey, look, your mom is not your slave. Stop that, okay? Do it for yourself. So these type of things I would teach them all the time, like these little phrases, right, to help them learn. And there was a time we went out, me and my wife went out when he was still little with my daughter. She's 19. When they were like 7 and 5, we found a babysitter for them. And this babysitter, we took the kids to her house, and she had a couple little brothers there too. So when me and my wife went out, we came back to pick up the kids. We're like, how were they? She's like, oh, he was really good. Armand, my oldest, she's like, Armand, oh, he was helping me out. I was like, what'd he do? So I guess she was asking the kids to help clean, and they weren't listening. And he told her little brothers, hey, help your sister. She's not your slave. Yes. You know what I mean? So you don't
Yeah.
think it works. You don't think it, but it does. And now that he's turned into an amazing young man, all the things I taught him that I didn't think were sticking, they've stuck, including a love for God and seeking a relationship. So You're absolutely right, man. If you just live it and you walk it, they'll absorb it, even if they don't know they
Hmm.
are, brother. So yeah, I agree completely, man. All right, what's the next one? Oh, let me see. I think you already answered this question about who in your life is a good example of what a masculine leader, father could be, and what characteristics do you feel like you share with that person?
Uh, Clint, my stepdad,
Yeah.
probably. Um, my dad,
So, what are
he's
some traits that you know you share with him, or you want to emulate, or you want to, you want to live up to if you're not living up to them already?
I just our drive for family unity,
Hmm.
uh, how important family is.
Yeah.
We share that. Um, and dude, I mean, dude, that man is my hero. And I took his last name recently. So
Nice.
like growing up, my last name was Ashby, and now like recently he adopted me, and my we share a last name. I'm Montgomery now,
Okay.
and dude, we named my son after him. And
Um,
dude, that man is just my hero. I- Um, I freaking love him,
yeah.
and just just his drive, his work ethic.
Hmm.
Just I respect everything about that man.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a good one for you, man. So, if you had to leave your family behind for whatever reason, you weren't going to see them no more, what would be five key things you would want your son to learn and implement in his life? Or what, it doesn't have to be five, whatever you can think of, man. I don't want to put too much pressure on you.
Uh, just that no matter what happens in his life, no matter what relationships he goes through and who he's with and who his friends are, that God should be his number. That God is waymaker, promise keeper, light in the
Mhm.
dark. And uh, I teach him to respect women. I would and just work hard, man,
Yeah.
because all the only I mean, we have the promise of Jesus coming back in the future, but we only get this life and we only get one shot to let God into our lives.
Yeah.
Just to,
Mm.
to try and be a good man.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, what I tell my kids too, my sons, my daughter, more my sons. I mean, not that I neglect my daughter, but she's so close with mama. She's learning most of what she needs from mama, right? I just try to set the example of what a man should be for her. But my sons, what I tell them is and what I had to learn the hard way too, like when I first started this walk with Christ, when I came back around, I had a business at the time. I was juggling 20 different things. And I realized, you know what, I only have so much energy to give. As prideful as and as tough as I thought I was, I realized, look, I only got so much energy during the day, so I have to narrow my focus and eliminate useless things. So I realized there's the important things I need to do is, for one, pursue God with all my heart and soul, relationship with him,
Hmm.
understand who he is, what what I'm supposed to do. He made me for a reason, right? So I was like, that's the most important thing I told my kids. If I die, you guys need to study the life of Jesus Christ and understand what he expects of us. Okay, so that's number one. I said number two, take care of your health, right? Eat well, exercise, do what you gotta do so your body is strong, so you're a powerful man, right? Number two, or number three, work hard, have a tremendous work ethic. All right, work hard in everything you do. I don't care if you're 20, 20, work hard, do a good job.
Hmm.
And the last one, just be honest. Be honest, which goes with number one, because Jesus wants us to be honest. And once
Yeah.
I realized that for myself, like the problems just, yeah, I mean, we all have problems, right? But I found peace in my heart. And that's when it's like God was trying to talk to me, but I was just trying to do too many things and he couldn't get through. So as soon as I was like, you know what, I'm gonna focus on him. Nobody can tell me working hard is a bad idea. Nobody can say taking care of my health is a bad idea. And nobody can tell me being honest is a bad idea. This is cross-cultural. So once I narrow things to that, like you said earlier, man, God is so good that he's given me a peace in my heart I've never had before
Hmm.
our life. So yeah, man, amen to that, brother. Last one. We all have sins we still struggle with, right? Mine, I still have lustful thoughts. I still, I grew up fighting. I used to actually cage fight and stuff. So there's like a string of violence in me still. I don't, sometimes it rears its ugly head. And I just wrestle with that. And it's tough, but what about yourself?
Um, Probably loving people how Christ loved people, because I can still get pretty prideful and
Mm,
pretty like I can hop on the bandwagon at work of like giving people a hard time,
mm,
and I still chew, so
yeah,
that's a sin I want to get rid of. Um, and just loving how Christ loved, man. Like,
yeah. Oh, we'll never
nope.
be able to do that. We'll never be.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but I mean, I can be nice to people. I can make like I can, be the bigger man and not jump on that bandwagon of making fun of people, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it. Man, that's all the questions I have for you, bro. But you know, your story, man, it hit my heart a couple of times because I lost my brother to addiction. I'm, but it doesn't hit my heart in a bad way. It hits my heart in a way where I'm like, I'm so thankful that there's stories like yours out there because
Hmm.
I have my story with my brother that's gone, and I'll share that someday at the right time because there's lessons in it. And there's your story, and I know there's a lot of young guys out there, young girls, young guys that are struggling with addiction that grew up in a situation like yours, and you have a victory at the end of it. Look, you got a beautiful
Hmm.
wife that you love. You got your kid that's born. You got a father. It's great, man. And if when I say the things I say, I'm not necessarily saying them directly to you. I'm just saying them to whoever is out there that might be listening. And what I want to say is, you know, I'm sure there's guys out there that have guilty consciences from things they did, and they feel shameful and they feel embarrassed of the things they did. And it's like I know, like you just said, you wouldn't change anything from your past, right? And like I
Hmm.
said earlier, the when you're able to overcome these type of things, these addictions, this all this darkness, and you can give God the credit for it. I mean, these are the type of stories we have to share with people. Because I know your story, I pray that your story will reach somebody and touch somebody's heart and give them that motivation to go to Christ. You don't need me. He doesn't, whoever's out there that hears this, they don't need to talk to us to talk to Christ. They just got to open up their hearts. And I've heard a lot of
Hmm.
testimonies from people, from guys, from girls out there that were in dark places like you. Some people were even darker places, and when you hit that rock bottom, you open up your heart and God can come and pull you out of that situation and save you. So, you know, guys out there that have sons that they haven't been showing love to because they're addicted, you know, teachers show your sons victory through having a relationship with Christ. You can pull yourself out of
Hmm.
the situation. It doesn't matter how dark and how low you were. If your kids can see you come out of that, and if they see you hold on to God and God pulls you out of that situation, then you did a great thing. That horrible situation you were in is actually a tremendous lesson for your kids. Your sons, the ones that you had with the lady before. I mean, if they happen to hear this testimony, if you share it with them or whatever, they can see, look at my dad. He went through some stuff. And as soon as he opened up his heart to God, God pulled him out of that situation and rescued.
Hmm.
So if they ever end up in a situation like that, they know what to do. They can come to you, say, Dad, I need help. And you can say, go to Christ. You know what I mean? It's amazing, bro. So your story, although it has some sadness in it and it even hurt my heart a little bit, we're smiling at the end because you're victorious.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing, bro. And I'm happy for you, man. It's healing to me to hear your story. You know, I'm sure it's healing for somebody else out there. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful to you, brother. I appreciate it. I love you for this, man. And that's all I gotta say, brother. You want to say something in closing?
Just Philippians 4:13, man. Like I can do all things through him who strengthens me. It's
Yeah.
like, and if you're still like, to anybody who watches this, if you're struggling with addiction, struggling with anything in your life, and you are on the fence about God, just know that God isn't on the fence about you. That he
Amen, bro. Amen.
that he is John 3:16, man. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son for you, for the world, for us.
Yeah.
So we can come to a relationship with him. And God gave it all for you, for me, for anyone listening to this. He gave everything. And I don't think it's too much to ask that we give a little bit of ourselves to God and just watch him work.
Beautifully said, man. Again, bro, thank you. I know it took a while for us to do this. We met,
Yeah, it's
what, it feels like it was 3 months ago or something.
it was, dude. And like you were saying earlier, work hard because and I'm a firm believer in that, work hard, because I worked hard for the for the first time in my life. I gave a company my all, and I worked there. Like I held a job down for 3.5 years, and it led me to a better job opportunity. Like
Yeah.
work hard because good things come from it.
Yeah.
And
Nobody could ever tell me that working hard is bad. No,
mm-mm,
it's always good. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Have a tremendous work ethic. It pays off so much. It does.
yep,
Nothing speaks like hard work. You can say whatever you want, but hard work, you can't forge hard work. Hard work is hard work, and that's all
yeah.
there is. And it speaks for itself. So yeah. Right on, brother. Cool, man. Well, thanks, man. I'm gonna let you go, bro. I appreciate you again, man. I'm gonna be watching you on social media. If you ever want to do like some kind of follow-up, I'm here for you.
I'm down.
I'm on the road most of the time. So I'm trying to I stay out on the road about 6 weeks and I come home for about 5 days. So every 6 weeks, look for a new video coming out of my channel from whoever I happen to interview. But dude, you want to come back? I'm here for you, bro. I got your back, man.
Yeah,
I loved it and I appreciate you, man. Okay, brother?
I'm down, dude. Yeah, we should do a check-in video in like 6 months or something and see what's going on. Because
Yeah, for sure.
I'm doing, like, not to talk about myself. I'm doing some pretty big things in my own life. I'm going
Talk
to,
about it.
I work 40 hours a week. Plus I'm going to school full time to get a degree in Christian ministry and Christian apologetics. So,
Bro, your story,
uh,
the bigger the things you do for God, the better, the more motivating and
mhm,
for somebody else who's trying to come out of that darkness, man. So talk about it, man. We need to spread it, because it's
yeah,
all for the glory of God, bro. So I'm here for it,
yeah.
man. Okay,
Glory
brother?
be to God. Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Peace and
Yeah, you
grace be
too,
with you,
man. You
brother.
too. I'm gonna chop this video up into 3 parts, and when it's all done, I'll send it to you. And I'll
All
share it
right.
on for everybody to see, man. I appreciate you,
Sounds
brother.
good.
Let you go, man. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Okay, brother. Bye.